Hello everyone, we are back to the tennis game refactoring, and maybe if you are following this series very closely, maybe you remember that we have documented one bug just as a test name instead of actually fixing the bug. And the reason for such technique is that first of all, we don't want this to disappear. So if it's in the code base, someone will look at it and will not delete it without, thinking why it's there. Second thing is that I don't like fixing bugs immediately because it's not always that I know what's the right way to approach this. But once I have this bug somewhere in my mind, in a thread in my mind, then suddenly a few days later, I come up with what is the solution. So honestly, when I was documenting this bug here, I didn't really know what is the actual solution to this, what is the best solution, because the only one I knew was involving quite a lot of problems. But let's for now maybe just try to implement this. And the idea is that we have Andrzej as the first player, and we want to make it 4 points, and then we want to, by the way, I often run a test just to see it fail to get the result. Okay, so win for player 1. You see, that's the problem. It's not win for Andrzej, it's win for player 1. So obviously we want to make it win for Andrzej, and it fails. And now we see the right message for failing. So when I was documenting this bug, I was only thinking about this implementation where we would pass to the constructor, the player 1 name, and things would get ugly pretty quickly because we would have to pass this along the way, and this is really not elegant. But at that moment, I didn't know what's best. But then it was kind of obvious that that's the only class that we actually turned into this result object. So we are in the progress of refactoring. We want to make this a variable, right? And there's this thing which is called string formatting or string interpolation actually. And string interpolation allows to write something like player 1. And obviously when I just run it, it still fails. It fails, actually, sorry, this is the way to write it. Yeah, I think that's it. So now we have to make sure that we are passing player 1 as player 1 name. I think that's the syntax. So I rarely use it. Okay, this passes. So I think it's a nice way overall. So we have this core. We have this, is clearly a variable. It's not that existing in the scope of here because the string is only interpolated when it's used with such a thing like this. So I don't like this operator. Maybe there is a better one. I don't know. Maybe there is something like interpolate. I need to look up because while it's short, it's not always that being verbose is wrong. So I like the code to be readable. So that's my only problem with this solution. But apart from that, I like this approach. There are other approaches where you just use %s. I think that this one is more popular, and then you just pass a list here. So instead, you would pass. I think that will be the solution, like player 1 name. Yeah, so this also works, but I think that being very explicit with the naming is a bit better. Maybe it's debatable. Okay, so that's it. For me, it was a lesson to remember about string interpolation, and also a reminder some bugs can fix themselves when they're in your head without thinking about them consciously. And this saves your time if you don't force yourself to fix the problem immediately. At least that's my flow of working. So we are different kinds of programmers, right? My flow, I like to know about a problem, about certain feature upfront so that I can prepare for that in my mind, and then the implementation goes very smoothly. And when I'm forced to do it exactly now, I will just waste not waste, but I will be not prepared. So I think overall the time usage will be bigger. So I like to work in situations where I have the freedom to choose the order of work required for me to do. Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for watching.